The fraudulent mortgage forgers. They're riding out of town on planes, trains, and buses because they've committed massive fraud and they do not want to be caught. Here's Cindy Brown. Let's listen to Cindy. What's happened since the last time we talked? People ought to know. They're sending people to your door to harass you?
Well, the debt collectors are coming in. They're using very aggressive tactics, trying to pull me into their jurisdiction, which is the unlawful detainer courts, where they're trying to allege that there's a debt that is owed and due by me, and I have not consent to that debt because it has never been proven. But not even so much that it's not been proven, it's a clear and concise case that there's identity theft, which I've already proven. In fact, I received letters from the IRS confirming that I do have identity theft. The Franchise Tax Board has already explained you have identity theft. The Federal Trade Commission has confirmed the identity theft. The credit bureaus have put a 7-year hold on the Social Security, confirming there's identity theft. The only person that does not want to believe there's identity theft are the people who are trying to steal the property. They've stripped the equity out of the property. They've left the home to go in foreclosure by not paying off the debt, in which they took the identical name, Cynthia Brown, who is a Caucasian woman, and the identical name of Cynthia Brown, who is African American, and combined the two. So they're using my Social Security with a Caucasian person, and they're making it appear that she is the owner of the property that foreclosed. Well, African American Cynthia Brown never sat at escrow table, never received a loan. There's no loan that is existent that can be proven by a preponderance of evidence.
But they won't give you a trial to let you prove that in the court of law.
Well, we haven't really got into the courts. Yes, that is true. Actually, when I brought an action as the plaintiff, they won't let my evidence into the courts because the evidence will show and prove this is all identity theft. When there's a checkbox face-to-face interview and it's not the same person, clearly, unless you're colorblind, I'm not Caucasian.
There was two different judges that refused to let the evidences, wasn't it?
Well, actually, there's a stream of them. A few of them have taken vacations when the case should have gone to trial, or they'll have some family situation that prevent them from continuing to stay on the case, and then a new person will come on and thrash the case by letting certain entities out, and then they'll switch the judge again, and then the last one will come in and crash the case and dismiss it because they don't want discovery of evidence coming in. And that evidence is these companies that purport or allege that they did an auction sale aren't registered, don't have surety bonds. The auctioneer is not registered, doesn't have surety bonds, so an auction never took place. In fact, we have false documents continuing to be recorded against the property, and we're finding out the notary journal book, there's a substantial amount of notary malfeasance, and the notaries are hiding behind law firms and attorneys so that they don't have to bring the evidence forward. Well, it's a clear picture that they're just acting under color of law, not rule of law. And so I have to bring that forward.
So you got musical benches revolving to not let you get your trial. They just keep playing the effect of musical chairs.
That's correct. I mean, you couldn't have said it better, because we have the Bank of New York Mellon who's claiming they've transferred the loan now to Specialized Loan Servicing Company. Well, someone just brought me into the unlawful detainer court under the Bank of New York Mellon. So how is it that you are transferring the loan for servicing with specialized loan company, but you're also bringing an action against me, not to include, you haven't even provide verified debt through the Consumer Financial Protections Bureau, which is very interesting because the CFPB just recently, here on April 25th, 2016, takes action to halt illegal debt collection practices by lawsuit mill and debt buyer. Well, inside, and I have not read this thoroughly and completely, but I've skipped around in specific areas where this company, Pressler and Pressler LLP, got fined for bringing lawsuits against consumers that could not verify debt. Now, I've been attempting to get debt validated on the Bank of New York Mellon, Wells Fargo, Home Loan Mortgage Company, who is no longer existent, and New Century, who's no longer existent. But in this consent order, they're telling them cease and desist. They're telling them to stop because it violates FDCPA. And the attorneys that are pushing this lawsuit or bringing this lawsuit are in violation of the consent orders. So it says here, made false or empty allegations about consumer debts. The CFPB found that the firm, the named partners, and New Century filed lawsuits against consumers without sufficient basis. Neither the firm nor New Century reviewed documents supporting the validity of debts. Here's another area. Filed lawsuits based on unreliable or false information. Some consumers had previously challenged the validity of accuracy of the debts, but the firm or New Century did not obtain or review information to justify their claims. The firm and New Century also filed suits and collected debt knowing that some account portfolios targeted for lawsuits contain unreliable or false information. It's all right here. Harass consumers with unsubstantiated court filing. The CFPB found that the firm, the named partners, and New Century filed collection suits generated mainly by automated processes that relied on summary data. The firm won the vast majority of the lawsuits by default when consumers did not defend themselves, even though neither Pressler nor New Century had verified that the debts were actually owed. Okay. They also, this is a key part.
That fits you to a T.
It fits to a T. You should not be.
You just can't get a judge to let you into court to present it.
Correct. Not to include it, there's identity theft. They've already said, the highest tax authority saying this is identity theft. You're not Caucasian. I think I know that, but it gets better. Under the Dodd-Frank Act, the CFPB has the authority to take action against institutions or individuals that engage in unfair, deceptive, or abusive acts or practices. The CFPB also has authority over debt collection practices under the Fair Debt Collection Practice Act. The CFPB orders require that Pressler and Pressler, the firm's name, partners, and New Century Financial Services must. And then if you read underneath, they'll tell you all the companies that are attached to this consent order who must be in compliance, which is the company that's brought an action towards me. They're going to submit that counterfeit document or documents to the court and ask and pray that they will help them conspire to steal a home.
They're asking the court to participate in the fraud.
That's exactly correct.
So it's not just fraud on the court, it's fraud by the court is what this company suing you is asking for.
If the court rules that they have jurisdiction on the subject matter, the personal jurisdiction, and jurisdiction overall, they're complicit. Let's just put it that way. I'm not saying they're committing a crime. They become complicit because there's enough evidence that should be heard in a evidential hearing, because the signatures don't match. I'm definitely not Caucasian.
Caucasian, yeah.
And these are acts that have been litigated through the CFPB. It's not a confirmed complaint that they brought and filed into the court. Because in the CFPB actions that I have filed, it has all been administrative, and it's been verified that there are no documents.
And they've sent process servers to watch you come and go.
Actually, we had a guy yesterday sitting out in front of my next door neighbors. They're shuffling through papers, they're taking notes, so they're kind of watching how I'm coming and going outside of the home, maybe to see if there's anyone in the home. I have no idea. I'm going to advise you guys stop doing that, because that's very fearful. I don't know who you are. If you need to serve me, you come to the door, but you are going to be filmed and you're going to be brought into the suit.
You did get their license plate though, right?
Yes, I did.
So we can track them down and find out who those people are.
If they don't change their name. You know, in this game, it's called the game, the real estate game, and we're finding that people are using different names and not their birth name, so that when you bring that alias in, that's not me. It's really easily done. And I've seen it done because the person that lived in this home used a fake name, and then she'll claim that wasn't me, she told me to use that name. So it's a shell game that they're playing, so that catch me if you can.
Got it.
It's a very vicious game, because a lot of people have been injured by it, and it causes a lot of mental abuse.
And Congress hasn't done much to enforce these laws, to force these judges to follow the law, have they?
No, you know, I won't say all of Congress, because I've had some very good talks with U.S. Congresswoman Sanchez. And I believe that she really is for the people. And, you know, from her own family misfortune, her brother was in this fiasco.
Game.
And it really broke my heart to hear what happened, because I wished I could have been there to help him and to understand what the game was, and what we could do to maybe provide some assistance. These types of disabilities cause people to shelter themselves, and the only way out, they figure, is by suicide. Folks, it's not your fault. It's a game that was predicated off of deceiving you, defrauding you, and causing you harm. Please don't do anything to harm yourself. If you need help, we are here to help, and get in touch with someone. If you can get in touch with me, I'm cindyforthepeople@yahoo.com. Email me, and we'll see if we can get someone out to help you. Please don't take your life. You are very valuable, and we will change America. We will. Please, cindyforthepeople@yahoo.com. We love you.
Very good. Well, you're an ADA advocate now too, aren't you?
Strong.
All right. That's the message from Cindy Brown in Villa Park in Orange County, California. I'm William Wagner, bringing you what you can't see on NBC, Fox News, and CNN.
No, you can't. Not until they come here. They've got to get you, and then they can get me, and we'll unveil everything behind the orange curtain. It's big, folks. And, you know, anyone that's turning a blind eye to this is complicit, because they know what's going on. If it was at their front door, if it was their family member, their friend, or their girlfriends, or their wives, this would be an issue that they would not tolerate. And so if you're turning a blind eye, I'm calling you out to do the right thing. I've dealt with this for a very long time. Identity theft is a killer. It hurts, it kills, it displaces families. This is unconscionable. And you should not sleep well at night knowing that you are harming another life.
That's the notice Cindy Brown has put out on the front of her house. Notice to trespasser. That's her home as I just taped it last week. Now, since I interviewed her in her own home, that she has not paid 1 penny in mortgages because the mortgage that is existing on her home was forged. She never signed it, and the original mortgage was paid off. So why does she have to put a no trespassing sign? Why are process servers hanging outside her house? Why are lawyers knocking on her door saying, hey, you, get out of your house. We've got a thing here and your house has been sold. I was at her auction when they allegedly auctioned off her house. Number one, the auctioneer was not licensed. Number two, the person that allegedly bought the house really wasn't that person. What we've come to find out is that this is massive. It's happening across America from shore to shining shore, from the Atlantic to the Pacific, across America. We have all these white-collar criminals. They have perfected the perfect crime because judges won't mess with it. Now, she just got a letter, and I'm going to show it to you in a little bit. But first, I want to tell you, this letter comes to the Department of Business Oversight. This particular one, the cover letter, is from Michelle Lipton, Senior Corporations Counsel, translation, government lawyer. Enforcement Division. But before I get into this, it comes from the same office, Cindy and I, not the same, but the same building in downtown Los Angeles, where Cindy and I were talking to Patrick about the notary forgery in her forged documents. And I'm going to take you back, this is like about last year, I think, in November or sometime. We'll take you back and watch Cindy, this tall, black, beautiful, 1988 gold medal winning Olympian, tell Patrick, who's the senior officer in this office, what's what. Later, he comes out of his office to talk to her when he realizes the scale of the fraud, yet he has done nothing.
And they recommended after they denied my claim because I didn't get the paperwork into them in time, and they told me to come to the Department of Insurance, and I said, why? They told me to come to the Department of Insurance.
Yeah, because actually once a claim has been filed and denied, they probably, I don't know if they sent you a denial letter with our
They
name.
did.
Yeah, and actually what the proper thing to do would be to fill out one of our request for assistance forms, and we can intake those and get them to our Claims Services Bureau. And they'll confirm whether it's something we do indeed have jurisdiction over, and then we can, then they'll look. They can do an investigation of whether basically get the contact the, by filing the complaint. Then we have your permission to contact the surety, and then get their position and see if there's a way we can help resolve it.
Oh, okay, because I didn't know why they told me to come to the Department of Insurance. Okay.
The notary itself, the actual business of the notary, the notary's misconduct is actually something that our department has no jurisdiction over. You would need to go to their, whoever licenses the notary.
Yeah. Secretary.
But if once you've then followed through and filed a claim, or if you filed a claim with the surety company,
Yes.
against the notary bond or any kind of other liability coverage that the notary might have, and then your claim has either been denied or it's being delayed or no response, then that opens the door. Then you've actually then made an insurance, because surety is a type of line of insurance coverage.
Correct.
Then that opens the door for us to go to the surety. We don't go to the notary because we don't license them, but we would go to the surety, the bonding company, to find out, to try to get to the bottom of why they're not honoring the plan.
Okay.
So that's kind of the process, and
certainly,
and this is the correct form to do that.
Okay.
Then, in order for them to get us started,
I'm sorry.
where do they find out?
I'm gonna
Where? Okay. See, now that might be what you have to do, find out where the surety bond is. Okay, here's what happened in my situation. I told them, I've been to the Department of Insurance before last year and all that, reporting mortgage bond. And trying to get that situation. We have, and I think you guys have me probably all still on record, but the ball gets dropped every time I come here, and nothing has happened. So I did go, after I found out that the notary was filed on my deed of trust, and that it caused me to lose my home. I went after her bond, because I was in litigations with other things. I didn't have time to get the paperwork to them all. And so she was very patient with me, but she sent my claim, and I tried to get her to open it back up. And I'm not getting any calls back. So I even talked to a girl by the name of Maureen from the Merchants, this is the Merchant Bonding Company. So
Oh, no,
they
she
said,
looks like
"Come to
I'm older."
Insurance." I said, I think their car insurance is in my insurance office. Now we even got more clarification from the county department, from the Secretary of State. They couldn't even authenticate the trustee's deed upon sale because the handwriting is different. So we already know that. So what will
I
the
trained
insurance
her back
do?
in the day.
That's what
It's
I'm
the
gonna
same.
say. If you get it,
I trained her
you're gonna
back in the day.
contact back the bonding company.
Well, for if, you know, you'll submit your complaint.
I trained.
I'm not equipped right at this point to know exactly what they can do with it, but when it goes to, you know, it'll, if it's a claims issue, it'll go to our, we can intake it, turn it over to our Claims Services Bureau. They'll review or just to double check that it's something within our jurisdiction, or if somehow they need additional information in order to, like, you know, to identify the actual, you know, bond or anything like that.
Because they knew it was notary fraud. They knew it was notary fraud. That's why I was telling you. When I called back, I just spoke to their general claims department. I said, that's why I told them, I said, I don't feel like being bounced around from here to there. And I said, how do they know if something has occurred? I said, you already have my story, that it's a notary fraud, and it caused a conversion in my house. A wrongful foreclosure, it caused a conversion. The notary is all together fraud. We already know that. Got it verified upstairs. I have all the revocation information and all that. And then I know one thing they asked me, they said, it wasn't from you not paying your debt. I said, no, I didn't owe them anything. This was not even the right party to foreclose. So we don't need to go back through the debt and default stuff because it isn't. And so I just wanted to know why they referred me to come here to the Department of Insurance. We came to the Department of Insurance for other things regarding the house, and nothing has ever happened. And matter of fact, we don't even know where our claims are. We don't even know what they did.
And then at one time, is Rebecca Bell still up north where she was handling, she's supposed to be, I don't even know, that could have been a misrepresentation too. When we kept calling this office, they finally sent us up to Sacramento. And she bounced us around forever. So we went to our senator. She was supposed to look into it, the ball got bounced there. So it's just really like these offices are set up just to appease us for a moment because they know they're not gonna do anything. We need to know, wow, what is your success rate? And if they are actually doing anything for the consumers. Otherwise, we know that this is just an office.
Well, put it this way, if we have your, are you recording us?
Yes.
Okay.
We're doing a documentary on these.
Oh, you are?
stuff,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, actually, if you, you know, I can't look anything up at this point in time, I don't have your names, but the reason the surety company, if they deny a claim, you know, because the bond that is, in order for the insurance company, or for the notary to have their license, they have to have a licensing bond, you know, that will step in if there's, you know, and then it really gets into the legality of what the bond actually covers, and, you know, and all that, how it was written. So, you know, you have to get into the specifics of that. But then that bond issued by a surety company, you know, if, you know, presuming that it was issued here in California, you know, it's something that was issued, you know, in California, we have the authority to review the claims handling practices of the surety as our licensee.
Okay.
So it depends on what thank you. It depends on what aspect of the other, you know, depending on the other things, I'm not certain as to what was asked and what may have been an insurance issue and what may have been a financial services issue or another. So I really can't speak to that, but I can certainly begin the process of if you've had denied license bond or notary bond claims, to get your request for assistance forms in, and get them to our Claims Services Bureau to get the ball rolling. I can't make any promises because actually to make any promises as to the outcome would require me to, you know, I don't have the knowledge of all the facts. I mean, I'm trying to, you know, do the intake process. So it actually would be irresponsible for me to make any promises as to the outcome, but what I can promise is to you is I can get your complaints submitted.
Okay.
That's not fantastic.
So is this the form, are we filling up?
Yeah,
form?
yes, the request for assistance.
Now, what do you need on the back of the, because we have some documents now. Do you need the document with this that we just got from the Secretary of State saying that the paperwork was not authentic?
Actually,
Help, yeah, help, help, help. Help. Where is the help? Where is the help? The help is you and me, people. Most of the people in the government just want to get their pension. They're not going to fight for you. They're not going to see the evil. I want to know if there's an all-points bulletin out for the arrest of Craig Ronald DIMOND, D-I-M-O-N-D. And that name rings a bell. That name makes me think about a certain reporter, a female reporter, that was working in the Michael Jackson case, but I don't want to go there tonight. So, what just happened? Something major just happened. Now, you were just watching my interview and a replay of what we did about a year ago on Cindy Brown, who DIMOND and his funding partners claim is a white woman. Now, you just saw her. Did she look like a white woman to you? But they took a piece of paper and started filling out, oh, I'm sitting right here face to face with Cindy Brown. She is a check white woman, check off white woman. How blatant the fraud. Now, what you saw, we were just complaining, or Cindy was complaining, and I was video documenting. And you saw there Patrick Campbell, who's chief there at the insurance that deals with fraud when the notary commits fraud, okay? And we were in, I think, the 9th floor. Meanwhile, down on the 7th floor of that same building, they had a document since August of 2013 that Cindy should have known about, and nobody told her. We're going to get to that document. I have a copy right here. But essentially, I'm wondering why there isn't a warrant out for the arrest of Craig Ronald DIMOND, the head partner of this LLC, Private Funding Partners LLC, which was ordered to cease and desist August 13th, 2013. And there we were in 2015 complaining about minor forgery of the notary when the whole document was forged and the government knew about it. And still, Tony Rackauckus, the elected DA of Orange County, we love you, Tony, not really, could not set anybody in to investigate this massive fraud. Is Tony Rackauckus getting paid under the table by DIMOND and other people like him to ignore the massive fraud so that people can have their homes wrongfully, illegally, fraudulently stolen by banking institutions and financial credit card type collectors? They're just debt collectors. But the debt isn't even legitimate. Cindy never signed the document. Watch this. Cindy just got this word like 3 days ago, and she immediately forwarded it to me because she wants you to see this. This is probably happening to a friend or a neighbor on your street. Roll it. You can hear it. That, hey, we just don't have a camera available.
CNN, we want you. We want to unveil what is happening. CNN, the truth is here. We need you. A lot of people need you. We need transparency. If anyone's watching this, Elizabeth Warren, we need transparency. We know you can make that happen. That's the real Cynthia Brown. She is not white.
And there she is today, still fighting for justice. Instead of for 2-pointers and 3-pointers, she's fighting for a bigger deal. This is addressed by the Department of Business Oversight, ensuring a fair and secure financial services marketplace for all Californians under Edmund G. Brown Jr., Governor. August 13th, 2013. Craig Ronald Diamond, Private Funding Partners, LLC, 8502 East Chapman Avenue, Orange, California, 92869. Lucky people. Dear Mr. Diamond, enclosed is a desist and refrain order for violations of corporate sections of 25401 issued against you and private funding partners. California Corporations Code 25532 sets forth the authority of the Commissioner to issue the order and your right to administrative hearing if you challenge it. A copy of the Corporations Code and sections 25532 is attached. Should you have any questions or concerns, please contact the undersigned at the number provided below. Signed by Michelle Lipton, Senior Corporations Counsel, Enforcement Division, 213-576-7591. Now, people, that's downtown Los Angeles. That's coming from the same building that I did an interview with Patrick on the notary fraud. Here's the letter. That's page 1. We were down there in Los Angeles. You can see the address right here. So who is Craig Diamond? Who is this person? That the state of California has ordered him to cease and desist way back exactly 3 years ago in August of 2013. And we have this order addressed him in Orange, which is Orange County, California. Desist and refrain order for violations of 25401 Corporations Code. The Commissioner of Business Oversight finds that 1. All relevant times here in private funding at California Corporation, which was formed on March 14th. See that? March 14th, 2005, was located at 8502 East Chapman Avenue, Orange, California, 92869. At all relevant times, Craig Ronald Diamond was the managing partner and managing director of Private Funding Partners, LLC. Beginning in or on about May 2006, which is just, people, excuse me, this is the time when Cindy Brown, the Olympian, the tall, black, beautiful Olympian gold medal winner in basketball, started having trouble. And continuing through at least May 2008, Diamond and Private Funding Partners, LLC, offered and sold securities in the form of promissory notes in the Private Funding Partners, LLC, to more than 7 investors, totaling at least $1 million. Number 4, Diamond, through Private Funding Partners, LLC, provided to investors a short-term promissory notes that ostensibly were secured by deeds of trust. Those promissory notes stated that the investor would receive a fixed rate of return between 9% and 19% per annum, Diamond represented to the investors that their funds would go towards securing investments, including, but not limited to, bridge loans that would generate high rates of return. Furthermore, investors were told that their investments would be secured by deeds of trust. In actuality, the trust deeds were fraudulent because they were forged and therefore did not secure the investments that Diamond said would be safeguarded by the trust deeds. Number 5, scrolling this up, Diamond, through Private Funding Partners, LLC, would convince investors to roll over their promissory notes upon maturity into new promissory notes. When investors chose not to roll over the promissory notes and asked Diamond to pay back the principal and interest amounts due to them upon maturity of those notes, Diamond would send insufficiently funded checks to the investors. I think that's a crime. Number 6, in connection with offer and sale of those securities, Diamond and Private Funding Partners made material misrepresentations of fact, also omitted to the state materials fact necessary in order to make the statements made in the light of the circumstances under which they were made, not misleading. These misrepresentations and omissions included, but are not limited to, the following. A. Investors were told that Diamond's alleged business ventures were earning as much as 30% in returns. B. Investors were told that Private Funding Partners, LLC, was loaning money to various business entities, including but not limited to Joneka corporations. C. Investors were told that their investments would be secured by real estate deeds of trust, when in actuality they were not, because the deeds of trust were forged. There's that word again, forged. D. Investors were told that the investments would earn a fixed rate of return between 9% and 19% per annum. Well, folks, it would be interesting to talk to those investors now. Cindy Brown would like to talk to Mr. Diamond as well. F. Investors were not told Diamond was using investor money for his own personal use. Based on the foregoing findings, the Commissioner of Business Oversight is of the opinion that the securities offered and sold by Diamond and Private Funding Partners, LLC, were offered and sold in this state by means of written and oral communications that included untrue statements of material fact or omitted to state material facts necessary in order to make the statements made in the light of circumstances under which they were made, not misleading, in violation of Section 25401 of the Corporate Securities Law of 1968, pursuant to Section 25532 of the Corporations Law. That's the bottom of page 2, but it goes on. Page 3. In 1968, Craig, Ronald Diamond, and Private Funding Partners were hereby ordered to desist and refrain from offering and selling, in buying, or offering to buy any security in the state of California, including but not limited to promissory notes and Private Funding Partners, LLC, by which of any oral written communities which is an untrue statement of material fact or omits a state of material fact necessary in order to make the statements made in the light of circumstances under which they were made, not misleading. This order is necessary in the public interest and the protection of investors, consistent with the purposes and policies, provisions of the Corporate Securities Law of 1968. Dated. This is dated August 7th. You see it? August 7th, 2013. Signed by Mary Ann Smith, Deputy Commissioner, Enforcement Division, and it's got the State of California corporate seal. My question is, why did it take till 4 or 5 days ago for them to send a copy of this to Cindy Brown, who's been complaining of exactly this for years, and she can't get the Orange County Sheriff's Department or Tony Rackauckus, the district attorney, to do anything about it. Now we. Hey, Cindy, William Wagner live in the studio. Give me a call. We just ran your document. I'm waiting for your call. Hello, people. William Wagner here. That was Cindy Brown, who I'm in almost daily contact with because I've been virtually the only media covering her story. However, I must point out that Robert Kay of NBC Los Angeles did call me and say they were going to interview me because I've been tracking this story for years with Cindy Brown. I've been to the auctions, not only Cindy Brown's auction, but Hernandez's auction, Mrs. Moody's, Valerie Lopez, Cindy's auction, many auctions held right in front of police at the Orange County Courthouse, and we're telling the police, this is a crime going on in front of your eyes. And they say, we're just here to keep the peace. It's all civil. No, it's not. That document you just saw, it's got the seal. And you heard a clear statement. Give me that document over there. It's clear. It's really, really clear. This is not a civil action. This is Mary Ann Smith, Deputy Commissioner, Enforcement Division. She's telling this Craig Ronald Diamond, if that's even his real name, cease and desist. What you're doing is forging documents. Now, forgery is a crime. Hello, Sheriff of Orange County. Hello, Tony Rackauckus. Have you never seen this? I mean, it's incredible to me. Give me all the rest of those. It's incredible to me that Diamond hasn't been arrested. Thank you, Reggie. It's incredible to me. This isn't something I dreamed up. This was sent on legal paper by the State of California Department of Business Oversight. It says so right in the margin, right there. Cease and desist order to Craig Ronald Diamond, D-I-M-O-N-D. Nothing could be more clear that this is not a civil matter. So the water department in Villa Park, where Cindy lives, that flooded her lawn and forced her to use water she didn't want to use, and the police that came knocking on her door and barged into her home when she was sleeping in her negligee at midnight and harassed her on pretense. All these people, in my opinion, are subject to a massive RICO action and a tort action, a federal action for civil rights violations. And this gal was a Olympian, a gold medal Olympian, people. She was not some druggie out of South Central Los Angeles. This was a tall, dark, beautiful, and very intelligent black woman raised, I think, up near Seattle, Washington. Which, by the way, let me digress for just a minute. I have it on good authority that a certain attorney named Scott up in Washington has been fighting mortgage foreclosure. And as a result, the state legislature, and winning, and the state legislature of the state of Washington has just recently changed the law that says when you fight the banks and you win, you cannot collect attorney's fees. Think about that. Think about that. If you're an average person with not $100,000 or $1 million in the bank account, and you have to fight a bank that has endless resources, and your attorney is hoping he's going to win in the end, he's going to collect all his billable hours and make the banks pay, and now they pass a law saying they cannot collect attorney's fees when they beat the bank? This is massive fraud against we, the people. We're being robbed. We're being reduced to debt slaves and less. Even the peons of the Middle Ages were entitled to a place to live. The Lord had to provide a place to live, He had to let them keep 25% of their crop. He got to take 50 to 75%. Most people, after they pay all their mortgages, all their debts, all their taxes, they don't even have 25%. They're lucky if they have 10% discretionary spendable money. We're being reduced to dark ages debt slavery in a modern version. It's just amazing to me as I look at this cover letter, and it's dated, the cover letter is dated to Cindy just a few days ago. The letter to Mr. Diamond ordering him to cease and desist is clearly 3 years ago. Hello, why couldn't Congressman Sanchez, who's running for U.S. Senate or something, why couldn't she put her staff on to dig this out? She's too busy running for a higher office when she hasn't helped one of her own constituents. And I was with Cindy Brown. We have the footage of me, Cindy, talking to her chief assistant in her congressional office in Orange County. I'm not going to run that for you tonight, but we have that. And here we had, you saw Patrick Campbell. He came out from behind his cage when he saw not only Cindy Brown, but 3 other black women all been bamboozled and swindled out of their home through mortgage fraud, notary fraud, and nobody, not NBC, not Fox News, not CNN, nobody's telling you millions of Americans are being defrauded of their homes. I understand Valerie Lopez was on this show a year or 2 ago, explaining how they commit fraud when they don't go through the California door, when they shred the original mortgage note that you actually signed, the wet ink original, they shred it after making an electronic copy, and then they send it off to Wall Street to make a security out of it, bundle it up with others and sell it. Then they send these people who buy that later come back to evict you from your own home. We had a guy, I wish Stephen might remember his name, who came to, I think he came to Stephen first, and he was up against Coast Federal Savings and Loan, which I have an account at, by the way. So that doesn't dissuade me from mentioning it. And they had let a lawyer take his personal debt and assess it against the house and then take the house, which is clearly debt collection fraud. There are federal laws that prevent that. You cannot take an unsecured debt, and that's what your credit card is. 99.99% of you and me, when you get a credit card, it's not secured. You don't sign a note saying, I promise to pay, and if I don't, you can take my car, you can take my house, and you take my firstborn son. You didn't sign anything like that. They just extend you credit and you start paying every month. That's called unsecured debt. Well, in this case, if I remember clearly, and Stephen will correct me, I'm sure if I'm wrong, they took a credit card debt, then attached it to his home, and then took his home. They wanted to kick him out of his home. That was here in Santa Maria. A hairdresser I know just got defrauded out of her house just like days ago. And I was telling her, don't take the keys money. They offered her, I think, $5,000 to just turn in the keys and kiss it off. There was so much fraud in her documents that had she had the wherewithal, had she had somebody like Thomas Mesro or Susan Yu or Michael Mins of Houston, Texas, to fight it, she not only would have kept her house free and clear, she would have made the bank pay them millions in damages. She didn't. She just couldn't deal with it. And that's what the banks count on. But this reliable source from the state of Washington, we might get him on here one day, Attorney Scott, and other reliable sources are saying they're changing the law. So even if you get an attorney to fight them, there's no incentive for the attorney because he's not going to collect his fees, which means you got to dig into your pocket to stop the bank from committing felonies and stealing your home. And my understanding is there's a law in Oregon, Nevada, state of New York, New Jersey, and Atlanta, Georgia. A source there just told me they have similar laws going on in all these states. How can all these laws suddenly spring up to say attorneys can't recover fees if they beat the bank and prove the bank committed fraud and save the person's house? Which means the person has to be very rich. This is not a government of we the people, by the people, for the people. This is a government corporation that is for the corporations, only the corporations, and screw you, John Doe and Mary John Doe, you know. Screw we the people, the real living children of God. That's why they put your name in all caps when they drag you into court. They're giving you the fiction that you're a corporation, because a corporation can only do this with other corporations. They can't do this if you represent yourself as a child of God and you put your name in upper and lower case. They don't want you to know that. There's a whole lot the lawyers and the judges don't want you to know. One of the biggest thing is, they don't want you to know, is that you have a constitutional and a common law right to represent yourself in court. So when you go to court, you don't answer to the corporation. You say, I'm not here representing William Wagner. I am William Wagner, child of God in the flesh, and I don't need to be represented. The statements put before the court are fraud. You lent. They are false. And I'm here to create a record, and I'm making a special appearance. Here's something else they won't tell you. If you say, I'm making a general appearance, you give the court jurisdiction. If you hire a bar-carded attorney, you give the court jurisdiction. If you don't hire an attorney, the judge will tell you, well, we'll give you 30 days to go hire an attorney. He's not doing you a favor. He's putting the handcuffs on you and just delaying the suffering till later. As soon as you hire an attorney, you're considered to be an imbecile. Read the segundas. It's in their own segundas. Of course, the attorneys are not going to tell you that. Hi, come on in. I want to listen to your problem. Sign this paper and make me your attorney. What you're signing is you're basically saying, I'm an imbecile. I can't even talk. I can't speak for myself. Craziness, people. Craziness is going on here. Absolute craziness. You have a common law and a constitutional right to speak for yourself in court. You don't need an attorney. What you need is some education in the common law. And if you go on YouTube, you will find hundreds, if not thousands, of YouTube clips that will explain to you your common law right. Did you ever hear the expression, oh, we never got legally married, but we've been living together for 30 years or 14 years or 8 years, and we've got these children? The court will deem you married under common law. Under the common law, in most common law jurisdictions, if a man and a woman live together and hold themselves out to be a couple, have children, are on the same bank account, or even if they're not on the same bank account, they hold themselves out to be married. Under common law, they're considered married, even if you never had a ceremony, even if you never, ever signed a piece of paper at the county courthouse saying, we're getting married. Even if you never did that. If you simply hold yourself out for 2 years or more as husband and wife, you are considered married, whether you got a signed document or not. And it's just as valid as if you had a marriage license. But I digress again. I would like to ask Sheriff Bill Brown, hey, Sheriff Bill Brown of Santa Barbara County, why don't you look in your wants and warrants and see if you can find a warrant out for Craig Ronald Diamond, C-R-A-I-G, middle initial R-O-N-A-L-D, Ronald Diamond, D-I-M-O-N-D. Is there a warrant out for this man? Because here's the document saying cease and desist. And I'd like to talk to the lady here the enforcement lady, Mary Ann Smith, and see if he ever took his opportunity to request a hearing and fight this cease and desist, desist and refrain order, under, for violating section 25401 of the Corporations Code. Again, we're dealing with corporations. There's the United States of America, Organic, and then there's the United States of America, Inc. Believe it or not, the country was incorporated. Most towns, cities, and counties are incorporated. And that's a whole nother issue. But people, if you don't want to be incorporated and you get called to court, even on a traffic violation, they have your name in all caps, you should object. You should say, I'm not a corporation. You got my name in all caps. I'm not a corporation. And one of the biggest things, the crux of the bar, the union of mafia people that call themselves the Bar Association of California or Georgia or New Jersey or New York or whatever state, okay? They don't want you to know that there's a specific ruling in almost every state, and they've been appealed to the Supreme Court, that states you, as an individual, have an absolute right to practice common law. Thing is, you've got to assert the common law. And the judge and the attorneys don't want you to. That's why the judge wants you to hire an attorney. As soon as you hire an attorney, you're under their admiralty court jurisdiction. And they're not going to want you to use common law. Once in a while, you'll hear a judge mention the common law, if it serves their purpose. But most of the time, they want you to forget common law. They don't even teach it in high school. I was reading an 1844 school primer printed in the state of Ohio. And it explained common law to children. It was aimed for children between 5th and 8th grade. And they were explaining common law. And the one in 1842, that primer, actually has the original 13th Amendment. Not the 13th Amendment the lawyers want you to think of, the one passed after the American Civil War in 1865, just as Lincoln was knocked off, President Lincoln. I'm not going to get into the assassination of Lincoln, but it's a very interesting thing to go look at. The lawyers don't want you to know you don't need a lawyer to go into court and defend yourself. And there are some people, probably a few hundred across the country, that have learned to waltz into court and say, I'm here making a special appearance in reference to this matter where you called my corporate fiction to the court. And as a courtesy, I'm making a special appearance. Stephen reminds me that one of the best is 1215.org for common law. I really hope you diverge from watching the Olympics or watching your favorite Dancing with Stars or whatever, Voice or England's Got Music or whatever show that distracts you. Take a little time to go on the internet, go to www.1615, that's 1215.org. Pull it up and just look for something that interests you and start learning the common law. Fairly soon, we the people are going to have to form our own grand juries and start arresting judges, attorneys, and bankers. I want to say it this way. Prior to the American Civil War, there were virtually no bar associations for any state. City of New York created a city bar association. That's where the banks were located. Philadelphia then created a bar association. That's where they were located. But there are virtually, until this century, no bar associations. They're a criminal operation from beginning to end. I witnessed the Michael Jackson trial, 5 months of it, every day, in Judge Melville's rotten court, where he let our now dead prosecutor, that Snake Sneddon, fabricate, absolute fabrication of false evidence. I want to go back, to the tape and let you watch this, but know that you are a child of God. You have a common law right to represent yourself in court, not as a corporation. But when you come in, you must say, I am making a special appearance. By saying special appearance, you're alerting the judge, I'm not giving you jurisdiction over my person or this case. I am not giving you jurisdiction. I'm not agreeing to be in your court. I'm just here as a courtesy to tell you I'm the child of God and these allegations against me are false. Have a nice day, Judge. Goodbye. And you walk out. The judge, then you've made your appearance, you've denied the corporate entity, and you walk out. The judge will try to get the bailiff to sit you down and, wait, we're going to deal with you. You got to know what you're doing. That's why I recommend you go to www.1215. That's a special date in English history, 1215.org. The Magna Carta. Stephen's got a good memory because he's been looking at it, which is a good thing. Stephen probably knows more common law than the average person who just graduated from college. We got a guest coming on who is a local candidate in a few minutes, but before we have him, I want to go back to this tape. Watch this and we'll be back with Mr. Smith in just minutes. Thanks for watching. For We the People.
You know, from my own experience in looking at things in the past, you know, not these particular issues, but other issues, it's any letters or communications that you receive from the actual bond company are helpful for us to have.
Right, well, yeah, it was that one you didn't tell the last one. I have this one, and then I have the rejection letter that I don't. I thought I brought that one, but I don't have that one. But, and
also, you know, any other information that you might have that would support that the claim was valid, you certainly are welcome to submit that. You know, I might not be able to tell right away if it's going to be valuable until, because it might depend on, so every once in a while when you're reviewing documents, the information on a document may help fill in a gap or help you determine jurisdiction or something like that. So, you know, you're welcome to submit whatever you like.
Okay.
But especially the most helpful things are the actual information from the bond company and any information that you have that substantiates your claim against the bond.
Okay.
Is helpful.
So do you guys have a fax number that we can fax it into you as well?
Certainly.
Once I fill out this and I can fax over the information directly to you.
Yeah, you
so
can fax it to my attention.
Okay.
In fact, my fax, let me go get more of my business cards. I only had one on me. Can I come right back? Okay, I'll be right back.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I have one also.
Yeah, I'm actually gonna grab a bunch. I'll be right back.
Okay, now, did you already contact the notary?
I've contacted one of the notaries who
No
will.
merchant bonding?
Yeah, she got the form.
No, she got the form, but did you contact them to put in your claim? Do that, that's real good, that's why they sent me here, but what had happened, you can go online, they have the form to fill out, to go directly to get her notary bond, and then send in additional paperwork. Then they're gonna contact you and tell you what they need from you to go after it. See, I was tied up in my cases, so I didn't get a chance to get it
See,
all.
I already contacted, not this one,
They're real nice, I like them.
but I contact L. Martin because she did not turn in her notary book, which the lady upstairs at the Secretary's State said she must turn it in once that commission number expires, because a new number starts. So
Exactly.
her not turning that in is a problem.
Right. But-
Whereas we thought it was 10 years. No, it's every 4 years they need to turn that commission book in because it's attached to the documents.
Right, now here's what's gonna happen with merchant bond. They're gonna ask you, when you turn in the information, they're gonna say, did it have anything to do with a debt and a default? Now, that's what they asked me. Was she working under her notary? I gave the fraud, but she needed additional information. That's what I did not get to her because I was so entailed and I got, behind my arrest and all that, I didn't have time to get all that to her. And so she just recently denied my claim and told me to come here to the Department of Insurance. And I've been calling back trying to get them to reopen it and wanted to know why I needed to come here. And so she stated that come here, and what he just now said, this is why you come back here. So now I have additional information to give them, but they also wanted it on their format. They have a form, so you could call them and tell them to send you the form, or they'll tell you where to go to get it on the email. And then fill it out.
It has our fax number on it.
3 pages, and fill it out, and put in your thing now with this insurance fund, and let them know on that also.
Thank you.
This is not due to a debt and a default. It was a wrongful foreclosure done on your property, and they were complicit to the fraud.
She's been working on our cases
And
since
then
2005.
that's what you need.
Everything back you up.
And so, and that way, they'll get the going, because you get up to $15,000 on their bond.
Yeah, because it's not a debt and a default. This is a fraud. This is a grand theft.
And you just got it validated through the Secretary of State. You
Exactly.
already knew the paperwork.
Exactly.
So you don't need to prove anything about it being notary fraud. It's notary fraud. So
It started at the inception of the documents, and so how could there be a default when at the inception at all times was to steal the property? So they created these counterfeit documents to make it appear that a loan exists, when in fact it doesn't, because we've just invalidated the documents. It's not authentic.
Attorney General should be investigating these notaries
Shoulda, coulda,
and didn't
woulda.
care.
from the county recorders, I can give you the.
Hasn't done anything.
So would I just be saying this is like a whole
However,
situation?
I haven't given up
And
hope,
then it's
you know,
Yeah, no other notary
because
bond, yes, that's good.
I know sometimes they get inundated with
Right here, I put down the agency
tons
item,
of
you
cases,
realize there was a-
so
then you'll
you
wanna
can't
put in your
expect to
claim
just
number.
run to the front of the
claim
line.
number that they
But
do right there.
Right,
in a
that's why
case
it's
like
good to have
this,
this.
where
I'll
I've waited
make
almost
copies
10
in the
years,
meantime.
I'm assuming my time is right there. I should be at the front of the line.
Should be at the front of the line by now.
Yeah.
Well, that was Cindy Brown. Did she look like a white woman to you people? And we've had her documents right here on this table in this television studio where we're live here tonight. And now a new guest, Will Smith. Welcome to the show, Mr.
Thank
Smith.
you.
Okay, you're running for what?
I'm running for the mayor of the city of Santa Maria.
Well, if you win, you'd be, I think, the first black mayor of the city.
Correct.
Do you think there's anybody that's going to oppose you?
Yes. I've seen that I was the first African American to be elected in the city in a public office when I was on the school board for the Santa Maria Bonita School District. And when I went to take office, they actually took me to the Santa Barbara Superior Court and tried to tell the judge that I was not eligible to take the position because I did not resign and everything, and it was a big lie. And so what happened is the judge told him, said if he takes it and he's under criminal penalty, he'd go to jail. Well, it's been 5 years I haven't gone to jail, and I've had to deal with that. But again, I'm still being demonized by working with a group that did not want to accept me as an African American, did not want to accept me as a person. And so therefore, it's a bad situation.
What judge was that, by the way?
The judge that did the correct call was Judge Arthur Garcia, who was an excellent judge with the Superior Court of Santa Barbara County.
What judge was it they took you in front of, and what year was that?
It was the year of 2010, and they took me before Judge Arthur Garcia.
And he told you if you signed the oath of office for the position, you'd be guilty of a crime?
No, Judge Garcia told them that if I signed for the oath of office that it would not be a crime, but the school district tried to bring it before the judge and say that I was committing a crime by taking office by taking office.
Did you win the election?
Yes, I won the election and I did take office eventually.
So you sat on the school board.
Yes, I was on the school board for 4 years of a nightmare term.
What made it a nightmare? Just the fact that the others didn't like you on there?
Well, there were some issues on the board. Basically, first of all, The school district did not want me on the board. So therefore, on the night I was inaugurated, they read the script telling the people there was a room full of African Americans, most never coming to the school board, as well as other groups, Caucasians and so forth, that were there to support me. And they read the script saying that if I take office, that I could be committing a crime and different things, and just unorthodox. The people were so turned off. There were people that actually got up and walked out of the swearing-in ceremony.
What crime would you have been committing? I don't get this. I hear what you're saying, but this doesn't make sense to me. And I live here. I'm sorry, I've been ignoring the school board for years. My kids are all grown. There's other issues that we've been talking about tonight that are really big issues. But you should have come down and talked to me in 2010.
I didn't know about you. I would have been glad to come down to speak with you. As a matter of fact, the school board was so bad, what they did is they had made a contract with me as a term of me resigning because we had a disagreement. And when I made that, it did not have anything that said I could not run for office. So I ran for office and actually won. They weren't expecting me to run, nor were they expecting me to win. And so therefore, once I did it, they said, well, if you take office and we're paying you some money here, what's going to happen is you'll be in violation of California. I believe they said some government code 1090 and 1091 say it was a conflict of interest.
Because you work for the school district?
Because I was a board member. But according to the law, there is no conflict.
Who at the school administration was pushing this on you?
It was the school attorney, as well as the school superintendent at that time, Phil Alvarado. He's no longer with the district now.
Phil Alvarado's taking his pension, huh? He's retired.
Oh, nice big pension.
And who is the school attorney at the time?
It's a gentleman named Timothy Carey. And it's interesting, that gentleman, if you were to look at the Twin Rivers High School, you will find out that he's quite a controversial character because they dismissed his law firm due to some things that they thought were inappropriate.
Where's Twin Rivers High School?
It's in Northern California.
Okay, I will look into that. That's interesting. I mean, it's interesting to me. And we'll see if we can get Mr. Carey on here and get his side of the story. Maybe there's another side of the story. But I'm not saying you're lying. I'm not saying they're dishonest. I just haven't heard anything about this. So now, why do you think it would be good for you to be mayor? What could you do as mayor? I mean, this town is so crooked already.
Well, I believe that, for one, I could enhance what we have. The city is not in shambles, but it needs to have a new vision. For example, the teenage juvenile crime rate in the city in the last 3 years went from 3,000 incidents to 6,000, according to the city records that are online. So that crime is doubled. There is no activities hardly for the kids to do in the north end of town. For example, with skateboarders, there are a lot of skateboarders here. Nothing. They've got a skate park on the south end of town, but they have nothing up here. So you're wondering why the crime is bad. If the kids have nothing to do, it's going to happen. Also, the north end of town right now, to me, needs beautification. If you go along the streets, you see weeds in the crack. It looks bad, and they're saying this is the gateway to Santa Maria. My proposal is let's try to beautify that part of town and keep it up with the rest of town because, again, it doesn't look correct, and there are other issues.
Well, I don't see any reason that couldn't be made to happen. I mean, this town literally annexed a part of the county just so one man could run for and be mayor. And that was just a decade or so ago. That wasn't that long in my memory. They annexed part of the county into town just so one single man could legally stay in the same house and become mayor. This is the same town, same place where I was arrested while running for county supervisor for the 5th District on a lie. And the lie was he's an escaped felon.
Oh, wow.
And this comes out in what I call the Santa Maria Nutcase Times, headlines. If you go back and look at that headline, I didn't know you were going to bring this up, but down in the lower corner, where I'm on the front page, candidate Wagner arrested. Down in the lower right corner, the front page, is this little tiny article where a judge had been caught downloading pornography on his work computer in the district attorney's office.
Wow.
Right above the judge's chambers. He was caught in the act. And then he said, oh, well, I'm not going to really run anymore. I sort of resigned, but his name was on the ballot already. Couldn't take his name off the ballot. It's already there. He said, I apologize to my wife and the community and all this. And that, to me, was a much bigger issue than William Wagner's running for county supervisor, and we're falsely accusing him of being an escaped felon. I wasn't escaped from anywhere. But this judge guy, this candidate, and Charles Bealey has still got his shingle hanging here. And to me, Charles Bealey should be in prison, and he should have been disbarred. But there were no charges brought. And I also caught, what's her name? Christine Stanley. After she had run for office, she had failed to fill out her Form 700 correctly, and she left off a property worth over $1 million with 10 acres down in towards Lompoc Way. And she just left it off, and I called the Bar Association and said, what are you going to do about this? This woman committed a misstatement on her Form 700. And they called me back a week later, oh, it's just a misdemeanor, we're not going to do anything. I said, but she's our elected prosecutor now for the county. Oh, we're not going to do anything. Would you have a different attitude if mayor, if you found people under your administration committing these kind of crimes?
Yes, there would be a dismissal, if not a reprimand. And in this county, you said some very interesting things. I have a beef with the Santa Maria Times also because I think they're a partisan paper. That's my personal opinion. And I told them I wanted nothing to do with them because they ran articles against me, smearing my name, saying I abused children and I was accused of this and that. And I said, I've got source documents to show you that this was not the truth. They were, I would say, iffy about wanting to even see it and were telling me, bring it down to us. And, there's no guarantee that they're going to, say and do the right thing. And the editor of the paper, or the manager of the paper, was very arrogant. And I actually wrote her a letter saying, look, I want nothing to do with you. Goodbye. And I don't care to do anything with the Santa Maria Times. I think it's a paper that's probably, in my opinion, past its time due to close. And I would have no problem if they were to close the doors tomorrow because they don't report the truth.
Well, it still has one useful function. It makes good cat litter. Put it at the bottom of your cat litter pan. It holds together the network of, I don't want to say KKK-leaning people, hold together. And so when you pull up the dirty cat litter, it all comes up at once. So it has one good function. But I found them to be dishonest, untruthful in my case. And they weren't interested in the truth. They really weren't. And I was dismayed during the Michael Jackson trial, and I wasn't a Michael Jackson fan. If anything, I kind of didn't like the guy. But watching the trial, it was absolutely clear the man was as innocent as anybody's ever going to be. All the charges were fabricated. So you're saying they fabricated charges against you, put them in the newspaper, and they were later proven in court to be false?
Well, what I'm saying is that the school district fabricated claim charges against me, and they put it and made it public, part of public record because I was indeed on the school board and public information, and some of it was not accurate. For example, they said they called the police on Mr. Smith. They did, but nothing was found. I didn't do anything. They said I was within my rights, exercising my democratic rights. And so, therefore, they didn't do anything. But the Santa Maria Times, the way they write it up as though you maybe are some type of villain. They make the truth seem like a lie. And that's my opinion of what I'm reading from their paper. And I totally disagree with that.
Yeah, I have the same opinion, and I never met you before tonight.
Oh, wow.
Never met it. This is totally unrehearsed, people. I stopped voting, Mr. Smith. I'm unregistered, and I unregistered intentionally because I discovered that the entire election process is fraud. There is no guarantee that a vote cast for Mr. Smith on Election Day will be counted for Mr. Smith because we have these Diebold Sequoia type scanning machines that scan the vote. And those can be changed with a flick of a device about twice the size of this cell phone. You can go click, and a vote cast for you goes for the other guy. As mayor, you wouldn't have anything to do with that because the county runs the election. What could you do if by chance you got elected? And by the way, there was one election in AG that was fair. And that's because the candidate ran as a write-in at the last minute against an unopposed mayor. His name is Jim Hill, and he's been on my show too. And the reason he won is because they couldn't flip the vote, because everybody had to handwrite him in, so every handwritten vote had to be counted by hand. The machines were useless. And he beat the crooked mayor who was covering up for his administrator, whose name was, help me out, Stephen, Adams. Something Adams. I think it was Adams. And he had had an affair with one of his female underlings in Aurora Grande. And the police caught them in the city hall at midnight.
They were doing city business.
In a state of undress, at least she was. And she was a married woman. And her husband was concerned because she had a heart pacemaker or something in. And she didn't come home when she should have. So he called concern, and the fire department of AG and the police caught her. And a bunch of people made a fuss, including an independent journalist down there. And the mayor said, I make a finding, not Jim Hill, his predecessor, I make a finding that nothing wrong has happened here, and I had our city attorney investigate it, and everything's hunky-dory. And the police were like, we were there, we caught her, and they were standing in the back of the room. And you could see this wasn't going well. So Jim Hill ran as a write-in because it was too late to file. And he won because they couldn't steal the write-in votes. They had to be hand-counted with people watching. And you couldn't go click, click, and steal the vote. What could you do if they steal the election from you?
I don't know. I've never thought about that. You know, I've always kind of trusted in the voting system. I know, but there is, you know, we don't have voter rights for a reason. There could be a thing. But I'm hoping that, you know, that the election is fair. But again, as you said, when you're dealing with computers, things can happen. But all I'm doing is just trusting in what I have and doing the best that I can coming on a show like yours. And
are you going to raise taxes if you get in?
No, I don't see raising taxes. I see basically trying to balance the budget, which I've heard the budget has not been balanced in a while, but maybe from the last thing that I read. But I'm looking at balancing the budget, but not on the backs of the Santa Marians here that work so hard, because we don't make a lot of money overall as an economy. So again, I'm not going to raise taxes. I have no intentions.
Hold on, hold that thought just a minute. Hello, is this Cindy Brown? I'm still live on the show. Can I put you on speakerphone, Cindy? Okay, Cindy Brown, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Cindy, can we, is it okay with you, we show the cease and desist, this desist and refrain order that was addressed to Craig Ronald Diamond?
Sure.
We can publish that? And
You sure can.
do you think Tony Rackauckus, your DA of Orange County, should do something about this?
Well, Tony Rackauckus should know about it if he doesn't know.
He should.
He should be definitely protecting his constituents because the community is greatly affected by these injustices, and we're sending the wrong message to people who are out defrauding homeowners. And it would definitely improve the economy to know that people are back in their homes and they're out, working again. But I think that ignoring the situation is not going to help our economy get back on track. It's just it's injuring us further.
Correct. And are you a white woman or a black woman?
They almost have me convinced. I'm starting to wonder. I feel like, what is that, Steve Martin, where the one video or movie he's saying,
Are you the Cindy Brown that won the gold medal in basketball in the Olympics in 1988?
I am the Cynthia Brown.
The same Cindy Brown that appeared on my show?
Yes, sir, I am.
That's you. Okay. Just wanted to be sure that you hadn't turned white and gone a different direction. Just wanted to be sure. So we have your
Unless
permission.
I get noticed different.
Okay. We only got like 2 minutes left in the show, and I appreciate you calling, Cindy. Thank you very much. Have you checked to see if there's warrants out for Mr. Diamond?
As of right now, there's no public notice for that type of information. There are clearly other pending investigations that I'm not allowed to talk about, but there are clearly 7 publicly known victims of this person, and there may potentially be more.
Very good. Well, thanks for calling in. We have to go. We're going off the air. I'll call you back later. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, she called it back a little late, but there you have it. That really was the voice of Cindy, the same Cindy Brown has been here on this show, a gold medal basketball medalist. And we're here with Will Smith, also a member of the population of the city of Santa Maria, running for mayor. The election's in November.
November the 8th, yes.
Well, we'll have to get you back and give you, because we cut you off, have you come back at another time and give you a chance to say a little more. Thank you for coming in, Mr. Smith.
Thank you.
I'm sorry you got railroaded in this falsification, just like Michael Jackson did, just like I did. Michael, the only thing I'm sorry about Michael is he didn't come back and sue the city. He should have sued the city for hundreds of millions of dollars. And the city got lucky because Michael just wanted to be as far away from the pervert. And the pervert I'm talking about is Tom Sneddon, Gordon Auchincloss, Ron Zonen. And I'm William Wagner, thanking you for joining me and Elder William Smith here on Take Back America. We're going to need all of you to help. We're going to go to some music now to close out, to raise your endomorphins from the swing band, the Garden Swing Orchestra at the Village. See you next week.